Amen. Hey, we're in the middle of this series called The Starting Point. And I was convicted last week when I was studying Acts 17, and we were into this thing. And so we're going to go back to a verse that I actually bypassed. And I want to start with a quote by Karen Armstrong. We've started with it every week pretty much. But the whole concept that we're getting to in the starting point is that sometimes you have to go back to the basics and find out what really are the basics. Because we were told something that doesn't necessarily work when we get older. And according to faith, we were told these little stories, but we weren't told the power of stuff. So here's what's happened, is I know in my journey, when we hit tough times, you are taught when you're a little kid, you're praying, God answers every prayer. Well, when you're a little kid hearing that, that means he answers it just the way you want. That's what's being taught, is Jesus answers every one of my prayers, and he answers them just the way I prayed him. Well, that hasn't worked too good all the time for me, Sean. So what's happened is many of us have been left stranded with an ignorant, incoherent concept of God. We learned about God at about the same time we learned about Santa Claus. But what's happened is our knowledge of Santa Claus has grown, but our infantile knowledge of Jesus has stayed at a bottom end. And so if I'm thinking about this today, I have to come back to a point of realizing I have to hit a restart button. So go with me to Acts chapter 17, verse 24. This is going to be the beginning point. This is Paul's story. As you know, you've been with us 3 weeks. This is Paul. He's in the middle of the downtown of the city. He's talking to Greeks. He's talking to Jews. He's talking to Stoics, Epicurean. He's talking to them all, and he's telling them and listening to them about this thing called a spiritual walk. What is spirituality? The word spirituality for some is a distant word. It's something that can't be every day, but it's a distant word. It sounds like something I'd love to have in my life, but it's distant. There's just no connection of the dots. Spirituality is something that God has designed in each one of us, not for religion, but for a relationship. And if we could have a relationship with God. But here's part of the challenge that I'm convicted by. And I'm convicted by this. Don't know if you are, but I'm convicted by this. So I want to challenge you a little bit in your thinking. Is that okay? That okay? Okay, let's go. The God who made the world and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and earth, and does not live in temples built by human hands.